Hey there, I'm Aryan, and this is the app I built for this particular hackathon. The app is called RecurLense. So, in our app, basically, we are redefining the way humans prompt LLMs. In the current scenario, what happens is when we prompt a LLM, we just give it blunt information, and it tries to do a lot of guesswork on what the user wants, and how should we process things. So instead, before before actually giving it to an LLM for execution, what we did is we basically made this one particular prompt engine that that does things to your prompt, that tries to figure out what the user wants, that identifies the gaps between it, and if the gaps are sufficient enough, it asks the user for more clarification, and it tries to take the entire context of your prompt, the image, the voice you send all together at the same time. And once that's done, it has a complete flow of events where it keeps meta prompting itself to keep the context limited. I mean, not to keep the context limited, but to keep the context more accurate and viable for the exact thing that the user wants. And once that's done, it starts generating the final output sequentially, and it also tries to generate an image wherever possible. So let's try with this particular thing. Let's ask it to make a particular 3-day itinerary for Kyoto. Right, so it started the vision module, but since we did not give any particular image at this point, it will directly go to the meta prompt. It made a meta prompt, it tried to figure out its tone. The tone here is said to be neutral, and the tone is determined by basic sentiment analysis. Now it is running a Metacritic cycle 1. So basically it tries to recurse for a maximum of 5 times. I did that so it never gets stuck in an infinite loop, but to further fine tune our research, we can actually change that. And if you see now, it says that the meta prompt that we generated is exceptionally well formed. The perceived intent, draft prompt, constraints, plan of attack, everything is figured out. Now if you see here, there's this plan graph. This is how the LLM, this is how it's gonna instruct the LLM to plan things. uh, it's generating something. After that, I'll show you. Yeah, so it has generated one full-fledged response, but if you meanwhile see that there's a plan graph, this is how it was trying to instruct the LLM that the API key we gave it to. I mean, the LLM of which the API key we gave it initially, sequentially it would instruct it in these manners. And then if you see constraint lattice, from our prompt itself, it figured out what are the constraints in this particular thing, and then all featured locations and all what the user exactly wants. And now this is a JSON of the entire prompt we gave. I mean, basic analysis of it, the tones of it, the parts of it, right? And then if you see, yeah, meanwhile our prompt engine also does Google search to identify, to stay more relevant and to find the latest data. And if you see here, see it gave a very good response, but it also parallelly generated an image. And if you see the image, it says that in your 3 days, what can you do, what can you not do, and what your itinerary should focus on, what are the strictly avoided attractions, like the things which might not be open for tourists or for which you might need longer times. So I mean, for the image, if we gave it another particular set of instruction in the prompt, it could have made it even better. Now let's try it with something else. Now let's just say we'll drop an image over here. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one particular image. Yeah, so this is a tree that I generated using Gemini. So what I will do is I will ask it to analyze this image, and also I can actually do it via voice. I don't have to input it. So please analyze this particular image as much as you can. Figure out things layer by layer, going inside the image, all the colors, the density concentrations, everything, the objects in the image. And once you are done with that, try to figure out what we are trying to convey by this image, and then suggest me enhancements on how can this image be furthermore improved, and generate an image later on. Now if you see, I have given it a voice input. It perfectly took it, and it is now processing it based on my voice input. It said that detected tone instructive and calm. Now I would initialize the loop. It started the vision module. The vision module will first try and analyze what the image is. Yeah, see, so this is what the vision module initially figured out. It also segmented our image in particular segments. Actually, the image was Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil, that's a tree of life in the Norse mythology. And now it generated a meta prompt for itself. The meta prompt says that analyze its. It has different sets of instructions for each part, for the trunk, for the branch, for everything. And then it says the meta prompt it validates whether the meta prompt is sufficient or not. If it's not, it does it again. Then it ran a meta critique on it. Now if you see the overall composition, the image is determined by a singular. Oh yeah, if you see, so it says that the image is dominated by a singularly luminous tree positioned centrally against an absolute dark void. And there's a canopy. It defined each part of it in the perfect brilliance, just as I wanted it to. There are roots. It tells about the background. It tells about the interpretation. Let's see what it says. Life, energy, and wisdom thriving in the void. The luminous tree, vibrant, and see, that's pretty much everything we wanted from it. And then for enhancement suggestion, it says we can strengthen the visual impact, dynamic lighting, and subtle atmospheric effects. I mean, to make it more realistic, things like that it suggested. And to generate the enhanced version of image, it it tried to figure out these things. And once it executed that, it generated an image. But first, let's look at the constraints it identified. It said the analysis must cover all requested aspects. That's one constraint it figured out. Then it says a clear interpretation of image conveyed message must be provided. Specific enhancement suggestions. So it considers these things as constraints of a high priority. Then these are some instructions which are as constraints of S category. Now this is the image it generated. If you see the image it generated, what it basically did via this images, sorry, what's happening, yeah, it is the same singular luminous tree, but instead of putting random things at the leaves, it tried to define every particular part of a project here, like the recursive loops, the output generation, the final results, and all the functional branches. And it made it and gave it a very techy look, because we are working on a tech project and we did not actually define to it that what do we want in the enhanced image. So to the best of its knowledge, it did this. So that's pretty much our app, and every time you log into it again via the Versal link that I've shared as well, you'll be prompted to enter an API key. And once you enter the API key, it will actually and it will validate if the API key is valid or not. And once it's validated, it will start working just the way we showed in this video. Thank you. Do let me know if you have any doubts.